themselves. As always, I'm your host, Brent Vermeyer, clinical advisor for FDN and the director of our tribe's awesome association, where we get to support the community with ongoing education regarding a variety of business and clinical topics. So we just had an awesome webinar about mushrooms and therapeutic approaches to mushrooms. So this week,
to hear that one.
Oh yeah, please watch the replay. It was great. It was not a lot of people, not enough people attended, but it was a great. You'll love it, Lisa. But Lisa Pitel-Killah, I am so excited to have you as our guest for tonight. And to everybody, apologize for the delay, little tech issues, but we're good. We're here now. So Lisa, welcome to the Real Results Show.
Thank you, Brendan, and so great to be here. I'm so excited.
I am too. I really do love this show. It just gives me an excuse to talk to my favorite people in the FDN tribe. So what are we talking about tonight? I heard something about a little HTMA action going on.
HTMA, my favorite thing ever. Mineral balance.
Absolutely. I'm all for it. So we're going to be nerding out on that. For those of you in attendance, thanks for tuning in. Remember, you can always drop the word aspiring in the chat box if you want to learn more about the FDN community, because I know some of you might not be able to make it to the end of the show since we started a little bit late. But Lisa, tell me, what's up with HTMA? Why do you like it so much?
Oh my goodness. Where do I start? Well, HTMA is hair tissue mineral analysis, and such a relevant test. I mean, there's lots of controversy out there, but it is non-invasive. It is inexpensive. It tells us so much about the body. You know, the minerals are not randomly deposited in the hair. There's patterns there that we can learn from. There's patterns that tell us about the functions as well as toxicities and deficiencies. And just so much information for us to use to truly help our clients get to the root cause of problems.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was a really good description. And so certainly as, you know, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners, we really specialize in using, you know, objective data, hence this whole test don't guess thing, to really guide our clients to optimal health. So, you know, hair tissue mineral analysis, where you just take a nice non-invasive hair sample and we can look at all sorts of metals and minerals you just said. So how does this information really help you as the practitioner and health coach guide your clients? Like, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to learn? How might this correlate with their issues, or what does that mean for them? What do we do about it? Let's just dive into all the things.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's kind of two sides to the story. And really, when we're looking at the key macro minerals, there's a lot of imbalances there that we see quite often. So excess tissue calcium could be copper toxicity, as well sodium and potassium and magnesium deficiency. A lot of those, I mean, you know, magnesium is the #1 anti-stress mineral. Potassium's right behind it. And when we're in that chronic stress environment, like a lot of us are nowadays, because we have so much different multitasking we have to do, these all become depleted. And then we get other ones out of control, and that really can wreak havoc on the body and cause a lot of different symptoms. And then on the other side of it, there's the significant ratios. So, you know, we're seeing what the effects are for your oxidation rate, which is metabolism, how your body's functioning right now, and what you need to support that. We're talking about thyroid, adrenal system, blood sugar, infection ratio. There's just so many things that come out of it, so that we can dissect what functions need to be supported and really what deficiencies need to be fixed in order to make sure that we're getting into that mineral balance pattern where someone can beat, you know, chronic fatigue for good.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of really good info. So you mentioned, you know, looking at different endocrine glands, you know, thyroid and adrenal, or even blood sugar regulation. So what's the link there for the listeners of, you know, what does mineral testing have to do with endocrine function and hormone balance?
Yeah. So again, it's all about the ratios. So it's how the minerals relate to one another. And that's where some people make the mistake when they're reading the testing for HTMA, is they're looking at it with individual minerals and their levels. You have to look at the interrelationships of the minerals, because all of those interrelationships mean something. And really balancing those interrelationships is what really is going to bring the body back to what we want to see as full functioning, so that someone can beat that fatigue or whatever they're suffering from. And I mean, there's other diagnostic tests that I use to go along with it to correlate blood work as well, because you can see a lot of other things too. With cobalt levels, for example, can tell us about liver dysfunction. There's lots of different things that we can look at with how the body's functioning, and how the detox system might be able to work as well. Because we have to remember, if someone is chronically fatigued and you see mineral patterns that tell us that their adrenal system is extremely weak, and probably they have a sluggish thyroid at the same time, because that's very, very, very common, the last thing you want to do is put that person into a detox, because their body's not strong enough to handle it. So it's taking that information, being able to dissect it, knowing what those interrelationships are, and then being able to actually apply it to the client so they can get real results.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like what you did. Got real results there. I see what you can't slide one by me. This is the real results show. I love it. Yeah. So, a lot of people refer to minerals as the spark plugs of the body. And, so certainly I think when we kind of think about like, all right, well, this meat suit that we all have that houses our soul temple and all that, it's made of all these different elements, right? There's molybdenum and calcium and all these different minerals and metals and elements from the periodic table. Those make molecules, those make macromolecules. Eventually we get up to cells. And then, of course, we're a clump of about 150 trillion cells. So, when we say that these minerals are the spark plugs of the body, essentially really what we're meaning and referring to is how, these different minerals act as the cofactors for countless chemical reactions that allow our, whether it's our thyroid to do what our thyroid does, or adrenals, or, anything else, detox. So by, really what you're saying is by looking at all these different mineral relationships, we can see, what elements, what spark plugs is your body lacking, which is why you're experiencing those symptoms. Am I kind of getting that right?
100%. And, one of the ways, the big reason is that I chose to kind of use this as one of the staple tests that I use, because again, we use all different types of diagnostic tests depending on the client, what they need, but is because everybody's different. And, you can't, a multivitamin is a multivitamin. If I'm sitting next to someone in the cafe, I'm completely different than them, depending on my lifestyle, the supplements I take, how much I exercise, am I getting enough sleep? Like, we're all different and our bodies are all different. And we have to really be able to dive in and be able to use nutrition, intelligent nutrition and supplementation, but look at the whole picture in order to make sure that you're getting the right support, especially if you're in a high stress position. And a lot of us are, business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, athletes. There's so many people that put their body through a lot and put their mental capacity through a lot every day and demand a lot every day. And if you're not using some type of kind of blueprint to make sure that you're supporting yourself correctly, then, you're probably missing a lot of reps at the gym or on the platform or, in a business meeting, being able to close a sale or whatever you're doing because you're not getting the correct support.
Right, exactly. And that's why, us FDNs, we love to work smarter, not harder, right? A lot of people, when they're trying to pursue their health goals, they will really kind of crack the whip on themselves of restrictive dieting and just go kick your butt in the gym. But it's like, well, let's work more intelligently. Let's support your body where it's needing support. And so, certainly for those in attendance, the way FDNs work is we lay the foundation with our DRESS program: diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. Move my hand so people can see it. But essentially, the lifestyle and environment, that makes up like 80 to 90% of the equation. But then all of our different lab tests, whether it's the HTMA that we're talking about tonight, blood chemistry, organic acids, my personal favorite, whatever it is, we're using that objective data to then take that health coaching program to that next level and be able to uncover, those healing opportunities or vital voids or, these mineral deficiencies, which, hey, if you don't have the spark plug in your car, you can't start your car and drive. If you don't have the right mineral balance in your body, you can't close that sale. You can't get those last few reps. So, and I think another great thing with HTMA is non-invasive, like you said, and it's a very affordable, right?
That's a big part because, again, a lot of information and not a huge cost to it. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
great starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending again on what the findings are, may have to dig deeper with the OAT test or with the GI map test or even with the Dutch test, something like that, just to make sure that we're covering all the bases because sometimes there's more going on.
Mm-hmm.
But a great starting point for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and that's kind of the beauty of it is as FDNs, we have so many labs and all these different labs, it's just tools in the toolbox. So, we're kind of the metabolic carpenters. I feel like we need a t-shirt that says
That's a great
that.
one. I love that.
Let's go and trademark that.
Yeah, I
That'll
love
be a
it.
good t-shirt. But you're so right, because although as FDNs, we really prefer to run a number of our tests so we can really effectively gauge kind of all the different systems: hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. But you're so right where, hey, sometimes we need to be more cost efficient. When it comes to bang for your buck, HTMA is one of the best ones out there. So tell us a little bit about, after analyzing the results, which are obviously going to be highly unique and individualized to that person, what can we do with that information with nutrition, supplementation, their dress protocol, to refine the model so we have a tangible example for the crowd here?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I do use dress for every single thing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is it's genius. It's the way that it should be. You have to take things in a holistic fashion because you can't change one thing and expect everything else to change without changing it.
Right.
So diet for sure, nutrition based on oxidation rates. So metabolic rate can be the same type of thing. It can be used interchangeably, but 80% of people tested in HTMA to date are actually slow oxidizers. So what that means is they should have a moderate carbohydrate in their diet. So anybody who is trying something like keto or a high fat diet may not function as well if they are a slow oxidizer, right? And a fast oxidizer functions better when they have high fat. So that's a big difference. And understanding that when you are a slow oxidizer, you're not going to metabolize things as well. So, looking at cooking your vegetables lightly so that they're easier to digest, things like that, very, very important. And then supplementation is always very specific. And again, if we're thinking about cost effective, then we're talking about the big four minerals: calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. There may be other things like adrenal support. We may need something to support the adrenals or liver function at the time that would be beneficial. But again, we can very easily tweak that for each person because every test is going to be individual with how much they need of something and what they actually need. And then rest, of course, we need to recover, get to bed before midnight, right? When I see somebody who goes to bed at 2 a.m, I'm like, oh, well, so we kind of talk about that. And then really understanding how to manage stress. I think that's what people are having a really hard time with, especially I find for my clients, that's one of the biggest conversations I have. And it comes back to a couple of things. And it's coming back to taking the time to just breathe. I always want to say that. I'm like, just breathe. I'm like, if you don't have time to meditate for an hour, you know what? That's okay. But just get outside in the sunshine for 5 minutes and take 10 deep breaths and just see and feel how the energy in your body changes. Because that can work wonders for somebody who just maybe doesn't have time at that point for something else. And then exercise. I'm a huge exercise. I train all the time. I compete at a world championship level in kettlebells, and I've gone through the slow one process. I've gone through all the diagnostics, and I've fought myself back through burnout, which is what brought me to FDN to begin with. And so I'm very, very cautious about how I feel and when I'm training and what I'm doing. And I always very cautious about that with my clients too, because they're like, well, I should be able to do 6 days a week. And I'm like, listen, I don't even do 6 days a week. Like you don't need to work out 6 days a week. Go for a walk on the opposite day, or go do yoga on day 3, or, and take some time for you just to breathe and include that in your training, whatever that might be. But again, slow oxidizers, our body's under a lot of stress. So we really, really have to take a look at that exercise and how much extra stress that exercise is causing, because maybe right now, doing yoga for your exercise is the best thing to do. Yeah.
That was a beautiful, well-rounded answer. I'm sure Reed would be proud if he, listened to that one. But, I think that was the perfect illustration to help people understand, the unique and powerful qualities of an FDN practitioner and health coach, because that's where FDN practitioners were really primarily holistic health coaches with some of the most sick lab analysis skills you'll ever find, period.
Exactly.
It's remarkable. And that's where, in contrast to maybe a functional medicine physician, somebody who, maybe comes from more of an allopathic medical background into the functional space. And although we might be using a lot of the same functional tests, I find that the style, on average, I'm not trying to make any generalizations or stereotypes, but on average, there's a difference in style. Whereas the FDN practitioner, our first line of defense is your lifestyle and your environment, intelligent supplementation, referring out to the medical doctors when needed. Whereas the functional medicine physician, it's more going to be supplements and medications or other types of treatment, whether it's IV or ozone or whatever. It's more kind of the allopathic, not as much emphasis on the lifestyle, the behavior, the environment. And so why I bring all of this up, besides to help the crowd understand who we are, but what blew my mind is when you talked about, okay, so from a hair test, I can look at my minerals and I can look at these mineral ratios and I can learn about how fast or slow my metabolism is. One of many things we can learn, but that might even tell me I want to cook my veggies because that helps it digest better. And I need that because I'm a slow oxidizer. Like, holy cow, talk about some next level health coaching, right? The specificity is unreal there.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, and you're totally right. I'm always come back to, don't guess, test. And it's, and that's one of the reasons that I decided to become an FDN, years ago. And I never looked back after that. And it was because I spent thousands and thousands of dollars going to naturopaths and different alternative therapists who really couldn't and didn't help, right? They were just trying different therapies and really nothing worked. And until I found an FDN that actually started the testing process with me, that's the only reason I got out of my burnout and actually healed my chronic fatigue. And it is another level of health practice. And I really believe that, we need some type of blueprint. You don't build a building with no plans, right? And that diagnostic testing that's the plans. And we need to see those to actually know what's going on inside that person so that we really can heal them for good and erase those debilitating symptoms that they're talking about.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it's like, I came from a fitness and nutrition background, and I knew that really what I wanted to be doing is, obviously as a trainer nutritionist, like I'm there to help people reach their health goals. And it's really no different now. I've just come a long ways. But my point being, to me, even as a brand new trainer nutritionist at the age of 19, it didn't make any sense of how can I help somebody reach their health goals without having objective data that helps me understand how their body is working uniquely, right? Their unique metabolism. So, then going back to school, and it's like, oh, well, they don't teach functional medicine in university. So then that's where I found FDN and, full steam ahead. And so, everything that you're saying really demonstrates how, we use this diagnostic testing, not to make a diagnosis. Like the diagnosis is irrelevant. You have metabolic chaos, right? So we have to uncover those hidden stressors and, work through it methodically, because sometimes that can happen like you experienced where, you go see this practitioner, that, and it's treatment. It's like, whoa, what about the environment, the lifestyle, the behavior? Let's coach up the vital function and guide that process objectively with the lab testing.
Absolutely. And what about mindset?
Right.
our mind is so in control of what we're doing. We have the
Absolutely.
capabilities to change so many things about just how we think. And when I talk about that, just breathe, that's a lot about mindset.
Hmm.
And without the right mindset, it doesn't matter how many supplements you take or how clean your diet is, right? So again, it's just that whole package. You really have to focus on the whole thing in order to truly fix it for good.
Hmm.
Otherwise, the mindset's going to come back after, you stop this or stop that. You're going to be back in the same place under the same amount of stress because you're not changing how you handle things in your mind and you're not conditioning your mind.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I could talk about that all day for sure
That's
about
a
the
whole other episode.
I know they will. I guess we'll have to have a round two one of
Exactly.
these days. In honesty, though, and so, man, where was I going to go with that? There's so many directions we could go. But so tell us, with HTMA testing in particular, obviously, tools in the toolbox. So, what type of people, what demographics, might really want to consider HTMA now? Certainly, I think we would both agree, probably everybody. But if there were kind of
Well, yeah.
specific demographics or specific symptoms or diagnoses, what would that be that might be especially particular?
Yeah, well, I really get two different types of clients in my practice, and so because I am an athlete and I compete at a high level, I do a lot with athletes, and it's more or less, just to make sure that they're supplementing with exactly the right things and making sure that their diet's dialed in because that's really important for their performance. So that's one aspect. The other one is I find that it's people definitely with chronic fatigue.
Hmm.
And for those who have, I feel like I get I've tried everything, right? I've tried everything. Now I want to try this. And normally we find that they're a slow oxidizer. They've got excess tissue calcium that's causing weight loss inability, which is very frustrating for them. And their adrenals aren't working properly. They probably have a sluggish thyroid. There's a lot involved with that, but a lot of commonalities that I see as well.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of two ends of the spectrum that I see as clients, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I would agree absolutely. Athletes for sure. I'm known to work out myself once in a while, and I definitely think that's such a well, when I did my first HTMA, it was funny. I had kind of just through my own experimentation, I was like, I think I might be potassium, like just low in potassium,
Mhm.
and then sure enough, like my HTMA came back and it was a little messed up there. But yeah, athletes are great. Weight loss resistance, chronic fatigue, any
Yeah.
kind of, hypothyroid, sign them up right away, right?
Yes. And
Hmm.
and getting to the root of that hypothyroid, right?
Yeah.
Because it might not be primary, it might be secondary,
Hmm.
right? So sometimes we have to be very careful with someone who maybe has a sluggish thyroid, but it's because of a mineral imbalance rather than a primary hypothyroid problem.
Hmm.
That's something that needs to be dug into a little bit deeper as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and so not to pick on you, but so you mentioned overcoming chronic fatigue yourself, and obviously,
Yes.
that's pretty much how we all get into the FDN profession is we have our own health issues, and
It's true.
through trying to solve our own issues because
Yeah.
nobody else could, and
Exactly.
when maybe that should be the FDN slogan is
That's
like
the
when
motto, the new
nothing
motto.
else works, all roads lead to FDN because
Exactly.
that's how we all got here.
It's
So.
so true.
It is. So tell us about your experience of overcoming fatigue and using, HTMA and other testing to, reclaim your vibrant health.
Yeah, so I mean, over the course of a year plus, I basically ran almost every diagnostic test that we have available, starting with cortisol measurement, a gut test, the Dutch test for hormones. I was estrogen dominant. I had a hormone imbalance. My methylation was super low. Then I found out I had a genetic mutation, which made it worse. And then had multiple things come up in my gut. The GI map was really great for that, and the 401H. But dealt with all kinds of different things, which was a long period for me for learning,
Mhm.
but very important. My husband always says everything happens for a reason, and I'm like, yep, I think you're you're right. but working through, having Giardia, which is a pretty hefty parasite, moving from there into C. difficile, having H. pylori, going through all those protocols. I have firsthand experience in all of that. And then getting to the HTMA, it came in at the end. I found that test back in 2016. And what I was fighting with was estrogen dominance. I couldn't seem to get to the root cause of why I couldn't. I was trying everything that was supposed to control and help detox estrogen wasn't working for me. And that's when someone said, well, why don't you try hair test? I'm like, what's that? So anyways, I was copper toxic from decades of using birth control pills. So after I realized that, everything changed, right? It was that one thing. And I mean, copper toxicity is a whole, that's a second episode with what can happen to the body when you're copper toxic and chronic fatigue. Brain fog is probably number one for most people, racing thoughts, but insomnia. And then the other one is chronic fatigue. But for me, the debilitating fatigue was number one. It really, really crushed me. But I came back from it just with natural protocols and being able to balance the minerals.
Okay. I love this because, I'm all about real results and demonstrating real life stories. Case studies are the best because obviously, you're a high level athlete. You already live a health conscious lifestyle, a fit and healthy lifestyle, but you were still suffering from a lot of unwanted symptoms and really symptoms just being indicators of what we love to call metabolic chaos, the only diagnosis we care about, right? Because
that's right.
And I think part of it too, what you also just illustrated is showing how, it is like being a true health detective, right? Because, hey, you can't, it's easy to think, oh yeah, I'm going to work with this practitioner. They're going to run a few tests. They have all the answers. We do a 3-month protocol and then you're better. It's like, no, actually, for some people, the Dutch test would have been enough by itself. For some people, the stool testing and pathogen protocols would have been enough. But this is the perfect example of that detective nature, but also how unique every person is. And it's like, maybe you've already done the bugs, but you haven't done the hormones, but you haven't done the minerals. This is why our profession is just so needed now more than ever.
Yeah, I agree. And again, and the gut's like an onion. You peel one layer off and it allows something else to pop up, right?
Yeah.
So we really have to be cautious of that and understand that, and people really have to realize, and it happened for me, when I burned out, it didn't take me 3 months to burn out. It took me 4 years, right? So you have to make sure that you're kind of being realistic when you're looking at, it's like, how long did it take me to get there? It's probably going to take me a little bit of time to get back, right? It's not just a 3-month protocol. It's going to take some digging and some consistency. But you can get there.
Totally. Really, really good point to bring up because it's, you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden you're 50 pounds overweight. You don't wake up one day and all of a sudden you have a chronic disease. These things happen over years and years of dysfunction. And that's where, even if that's the thing, I really wish that more people would start working with an FDN before they get so metabolic chaotic and, their metabolic chaos score per the metabolic chaos scorecard that we all love, it's like 600. And it's like, why didn't you come to me when it was 100? Like it would have been so much easier because it takes a while.
It does. And for me, at the time I was an entrepreneur and I had opened a brick and mortar business and it was in a depression. So I didn't have a choice. I had to work. And some people are in that situation. I have clients that are in the same situation. So, it's a matter of managing, being aware, understanding, and supporting, because that's something that I wasn't doing during that process, which I should have been. And that's why I ended up burning out. So being preventative is key. When you're a high performer of any kind, like I said, like an entrepreneur, athlete, executive, you're a high performer, you're asking a lot from your mind and your body. You have to have the right support so that you don't hit that bottom level.
Absolutely. Work smarter, not harder. Optimize your function, your life, all the above. Well, this is awesome. We're starting to run towards the end. So, Lisa, if somebody wants to learn more about you or do an HTMA with you, where do they find you? How do they find you?
Absolutely. So they can go to my website. I work remotely with clients from all over. And so my website is Killah, my last name, KILLAH.org. And they can
Perfect.
find out all about me.
Okay. Social media too, or just the
Social
website?
media, you can find me on social media at coach.killah.
Perfect. Perfect. So be sure to check her out. And so certainly everybody that tuned in, you know, I hope you enjoyed this episode and all of the amazing content knowledge from Lisa. And that's where certainly maybe you are a professional looking to make a change. Maybe you're a health coach ready to become a next level health coach. Whatever the case is, certainly you can always learn more about FDN by dropping the word aspiring into the box over here. You can meet with a course counselor, decide if it's right for you, because hey, you know, we are actively recruiting. We have like 3,000 of us worldwide, but in today's, you know, chronic epidemic that we're facing, we need as many as we can get, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be more and more and more in demand, and it's going to be
Yeah. Yeah, really is. Good job security, if I'm in a joking manner, but really though, I can't think of a more fulfilling career than how to teach people how to get well and stay well naturally. That's what it's all about.
It is amazing. And that's what it's all about. It's about helping people and really changing their lives and making them feel the way that they should feel.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Beautiful note to end on. So certainly, Lisa, thank you so much for joining me tonight and sharing your light and love, your wisdom, your knowledge, and apologize to you and everybody for the whatever those tech issues were, but we're good.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah, internet, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, have a beautiful rest of your night, and I hope
too.
we get to talk again very soon, my friend.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, we'll see you, everybody.